Kia ora koutou, welcome to Point of View. This is your monthly podcast where we talk about movies, what's coming up on streaming, what's coming up in the cinemas and all the rest. It is 2026, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a hell of an episode for you today. We are talking to the amazing director Taratoa Stappard, who directed Mārama, which is already one of my favourite Kiwi films of the year, an amazing gothic horror starring Ariāna Osborne, who also joined us. Boy, oh boy, this performance that she gives in this movie is absolutely insane. An excellent movie, and we were very, very lucky to get them in the office to talk to me today. How's that?
Yep.
You want me to do one more?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to keep in the same.
Because, yeah, I might mention that we're also going to talk about the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the roll?
Yep.
Kia ora koutou, it's the new year, 2026. Welcome to Point of View. This is your monthly podcast where we talk about what's coming up in the movies, what's coming up on streaming and all the rest. Thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of 2026. We have a hell of an episode today. We managed to get Taratoa Stappard, the director of Mārama, the excellent new gothic horror right out of here in Aotearoa. He was here in the office along with Ariāna Osborne, and we managed to talk about the film for a little while. It's one of my favourite New Zealand films of the new year and also of the last few years. It's a very, very good film. So stay tuned for that. Also coming up, we're going to be talking about the Oscars because those are right around the corner. The nominees have just been released, so we're going to do a little bit of a ranking, and we're also going to talk about my picks for what will win and what should win. I was lucky enough to catch Mārama last year towards the end of 2025, and immediately I was really, really impressed by it. Taratoa Stappard, it's his debut feature. It's a really, really good gothic horror with shades of everything from Get Out to Jack Clayton's The Innocents. It's a very, very interesting film, a very, very complex, very, very kind of confronting film. And at the centre of it is this performance by Ariāna Osborne, who is a young actress from right here in Aotearoa. Her performance is absolutely volcanic. It's an incredible, incredible turn. And so we were very, very lucky to get them in here today to talk about the film, to discuss the kind of process of getting it made, where that kind of story came from, and how you guys can go and watch the film as well. So here's that. So I met Taratoa Stappard at the Capital Sana, Capital Film Club. I used to run this film club there, and I used to see this very suave man coming into the movies and then leaving, and then eventually he came up and introduced himself, and I quickly realised that we had an extreme talent on our hands, and now he's sitting here across from me with his new film Mārama, which is pretty much my favourite New Zealand film that I've seen in many years, starring the amazing Ariāna Osborne in an incredible performance. I'm so happy that you guys are here today because I am a huge nerd about this film. I just think everything, I was really blown away by it. I think it's a very, very special piece of work. Congratulations first and foremost, and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tom.
That's so nice.
That's good. I'm trying to remember what the film was that you were introducing at the Capitol when we first met.
That was miles ago.
That's a long time ago.
Long time ago. But we've been very good kind of friends and
The Leopard. It was The Leopard.
Ah, yes, right. Yeah. That
great.
is when we first met. Yeah. No, we've been chatting for a long time since, and I've been lucky enough to kind of see this project's come together from afar. I guess there's so much to talk about with this film, but I wanted to start by what the genesis was, because this is a film that has a lot of kind of gothic elements, but it's also drawn from a very painful part of New Zealand's past, and I feel like it's had other iterations before this film. So what's the genesis of the film?
I think it was as simple as, for me, it's as simple as saying my mother. My mother is Māori, and she was brought up Māori in Aotearoa, but although I was born here in Hawera, at the age of 3 we moved away, and I never lived back in Aotearoa for any length of time since. So mum was my connect to my taha Māori, perhaps, my Māori side. And also because she's a big figure in my life, and yeah, I would say it was her and my sister, who was the only other Māori wāhine that I knew. And she would tell stories anyway. As I was growing up, I guess in a bid to try and keep me a little bit connected with any knowledge of Māori tanga, or she would tell me stories of our tupuna. And there was one woman that was interesting to me, called Rangiriri Stru, who had an identical twin sister, Te Rōrewa Stru, and that was my great-grandmother. And there was just something fascinating about her. I'm sorry, I'm not saying that Mārama's in any way inspired by their lives, but they were born in 1880, and the twins were pretty fiercely sort of independent young women, and they got identical mokokauai, for example, at a time when young Māori women, I'm sure, were being discouraged from taking on any form of mokokauai, never mind speaking the language. And my great-grandmother went on to travel from New Zealand through Australia and America, all the way to England with a group of Māori performers, a concert party, I guess, called Princess Rangiriri and her 9 Māori maidens, because there was 9 Māori women. And anyway, I wondered what it must have been like for my great-grandmother to travel all the way around the world, and this would have been the 1910s, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly when, and to basically perform, sing and dance for those people who had colonised her people within her lifetime, who were still colonising. And perhaps thinking about that was the genesis of the idea. Yeah, sorry.
It's interesting.
Long answer.
No, it's a great answer, because it's interesting, because there's a very complex kind of spirit to the film, where it's you know, the separation is such a big part of it. This woman who's been completely transplanted to another part of the world and is very unfamiliar with the customs and so on, and also the idea of Mārama, of the mother. There's this feeling that I think most people would associate with the mother figure as love, and yet you tell a story which is a horror. There is a profound horror, very unshakable horror to this film. And so I find it interesting that those two kind of clash, intermingle, interweave in this film. It feels like maybe it's part of this. Would you say that the conflicted spirit of this film has to do with your own spirit?
Yes. And yes, me growing up outside of Te Ao Māori, really not knowing anything about Te Ao Māori, actually, if I think about it, until about 10 years ago, when I started getting into making a short film that I made before Mārama called Taumanu, which was one of a series of films which went on TVNZ called Beyond the Veil.
Yes.
It was one of those.
A very good one.
And that was my first experience of shooting in Aotearoa, but also shooting a story that was grounded in Te Ao Māori, and working with cultural consultants very carefully, etc. was like a very good dry run. And in fact, I used I worked with the same brilliant producers on Taumanu, and then they optioned Mārama. But sorry, to get back to Mārama and my connection to it, I suppose the obvious connect is the character that Ariāna plays so brilliantly has been taken out of Aotearoa and is in this foreign land. And maybe I was thinking a little bit like that's what happened to me a bit, but in a very small way.
Yeah,
you know, nowhere near as horrendous as Ariāna's character's journey. But yeah, it was, and also, sorry, on a very basic level, just quickly, is I don't feel qualified to speak to what it must be like to be a Māori character or person in Aotearoa, whether now or then, possibly even. Whereas I did think, maybe I can tell a bit of a side to a story of, in this case, a young wāhine Māori, fish out of water, possibly, you know, in a foreign land, because I had a bit of an experience of that myself.
It's very,
moving around.
I mean, it does feel like a very personal, very profound statement. Ariāna, as Taratoa said, your performance is amazing in this film, and I feel like you channel incredible rage. Like the rage in the film you feel it really intensely. How was this role kind of introduced to you? And I wonder what it was like to kind of have to go to that place in such a, I assume, quite regular way. You return to the space over and over.
Well, the role first came to me via audition. So I got an audition brief and put down a tape for it, and then we did a second audition together and then a third audition together. And I think the third audition felt quite long, that one, maybe even almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also that third audition, you showed me around the set.
Oh,
Yeah, which was really lovely.
yeah.
But I thought, this is going to suck if I don't get this role.
Yeah, what a bastard.
He's like, look how awesome our set is. You don't get it. I was like, oh, God.
But that's how ignorant I was. I was showing you around because at the time we were in pre-production, obviously, and we shot in, South Pacific Pictures,
Yeah.
and I was showing you around the set, as you say, without realizing that, of course, you worked there heaps anyway. I was still new and proud of our space. And,
check it out.
and like, check out this studio, and you're like, oh yeah, great, it's a studio. Worked here. But you were very, but anyway, sorry. So you're saying about the auditions, yes.
Yeah.
You went through a few.
Anyway, that's how I came into the project. And then in terms of the rage that she has in holding that throughout the film, or the journey of that, we were talking about this earlier, but when I first read the script, I immediately felt that kind of anger and rage. That was really evident, and yeah, I guess I felt that physically quite immediately, and knew that that would be important, or always be with her throughout the film. And then we talked in pre-production about how that builds throughout, and at what point does it escape her, or that she uses it in her own power rather than, what's the word, like
Sublimated, or do you mean suppress it?
Yeah, suppress it rather than suppress it.
Which you do a fair amount of, I
Yes,
guess, in
yeah.
the first third, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
even first half of the film, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it comes out in this, I won't spoil it, but it comes out
Yeah.
in this like very, very remarkable scene. Like it's a showstopper. I mean, I'm curious what it was like to get to that place. What were you doing, Taratoa, to help Ariāna get to that place, and how long did you have to sustain it? What was the atmosphere like? And the
Honestly,
on
I
the
was
set?
keeping out of Ariāna's way because it wasn't my place to advise, or never mind direct, Ariāna for what she does. And you can speak to it, but I think you had prepared very intensely with one of the cultural consultants.
Yes, right.
Lovely woman, Ngahuia. And honestly, on the day, it was me showing up and watching the performance for the first time.
Right, yeah.
And it was awesome. And then we did another take, which was even more awesome. And that was it.
Yeah, we just did it twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we'd shot all that, everything that happens before this moment in. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling.
Yeah, right.
It all happens within a party scene.
Yeah.
And we shot all the party stuff in.
Sequentially, I
Yeah,
guess, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was helpful too, because by the time we got to this moment of rage, I had gotten to experience everything that leads up to that moment already anyway, for that day at least. Yeah.
And no spoiler alerts, but also I feel Errol Shand, who plays a character called Uncle Jackie,
Unbelievable.
he really leaned into
Yeah.
those couple of days, and it was pretty awful watching what he did.
Yeah.
And the extras, the other actors around him were kind of buoyed up by his intensity. And poor Ariāna had to.
Yeah, I guess you guys
sit and
kind of
witness
have
it.
to be like, I mean, when you have a big crowd scene like that, a lot of pressure must fall on the key players to
Totally.
hold the energy in
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah. Also, that moment, that scene is a massive part of the film, and it is sort of the beginning of the climax. And so I felt like there was a bit of pressure on it really landing.
Naturally, yeah, of course.
Especially what I think both Errol and I do performatively, I think.
Do you find it's a struggle to connect to figures within a historical framework? Obviously, this is a character from a couple of hundred years ago. I mean, I watched it and I felt like it spoke to the modern day very, very clearly.
Right.
But do you, I guess this is a question for both of you, do you find it hard to connect or like to find your way into stories about people in a different historical setting, or did it just come naturally to you?
For me, I mean, it didn't come naturally, but it also wasn't too difficult. I think I was really excited by that idea, so it felt easeful to delve into it, and
Yeah.
I just prepared a lot
Yeah,
around that time. And I'm kind of nerdy, I've always liked history, so I did a lot of research on the time and the place that they were
Fantastic.
at, which is really fun for me. So,
Yeah, nice.
so that made it easier to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it must have given you like a pretty deep kind of cushion to kind of fall back on.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of have to forgive yourself a little bit because I wasn't there, so I actually don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There is a limit of my knowledge
Yeah,
that
you
I
have to kind of
that
let
I can
yourself-
delve
yeah.
into, and I can do my best with that. But otherwise, myself and the audiences weren't in 1850s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. I mean, the film has such a profound atmosphere. I keep coming back to the films that really stick with me at the moment are the ones that the atmosphere leaves something with me. And I mean, this is a film that's a gothic horror. And obviously when we think about New Zealand gothic, it's like a type of movie, but this feels almost more comparable to, I guess, like a British gothic horror like The Innocents or something like that, one of these older kind of classic haunted house on a hill kind of stories.
Definitely.
Was that an inspiration for you? Was that something that was running through your
The
mind?
Innocents, bang on. I hadn't seen it, I confess, but my editor, brilliant editor, Dan Kircher, first time he read the script and we had our first meeting, he said, it reminded me of a film called The Innocents by Jack Clayton, I think it was, right? From the 60s, black and white, studio film, etc. And I was like, I haven't seen it, but I promptly went away and watched it and thought, yeah, great reference. There was that.
Yeah.
And then there was, in terms of films I was thinking of, Get Out, not for the tone, but for the themes.
Yes.
And for the tone and the texture, and I guess essentially this very strong central character, like Ariāna's character, was Lady Macbeth.
Right.
With Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
And another film with Florence Pugh, perhaps more for the style and the mise en scène, was The Wonder, also with Florence
I
Pugh.
can see it. Yeah, absolutely.
That became a reference for myself and fabulous DOP Jin Lone. Again, I think Dan suggested The Wonder and we watched it and we all agreed, yeah, that could be interesting. Taking our time with shots, not rushing things, and which kind of is obvious anyway, right? It's unless you're doing that sort of genre of take on a on a gothic horror, albeit Māori gothic horror, then it's likely to be quite settled and quite set, and even The Shining was maybe
I mean, I definitely saw The Shining in there. I mean, there is that feeling of wrongness that comes through. I mean, in that scene with Errol and you and throughout the film, this feeling of like something's very wrong at the core of this.
Good.
And I would compare it to The Shining, particularly in that amazing piece of set design that you have with the marae in the centre of the maze, or not a maze, but a big row of hedges.
well, hedge and maze, there was
I mean,
that too. But
absolutely.
I hadn't written it that way. I'd written, I don't think there's a spoiler alert, but there's a sequence in which a wharewhakairo is revealed in this Englishman's garden. And that just felt wrong. And
It's
something
such
that exists
a horrible sight
in England.
and a great. It
There's
does
one
exist.
in England now.
Wow.
Called Hinimihi, actually, in a garden in Surrey. And I've never seen it, but I've seen the pictures of it, and it just feels strange to me.
Yeah, that's
And I think
terrifying.
it might be being repatriated. But I'd written it as a hedge, and the thing is revealed by a way I won't go into. But when I saw the location, I was like, it's got to go there. And it was perfect, yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to mention also was the music is also adding to this atmosphere, this feeling of this kind of very unsettling feeling. Who were you working with the music?
I was very happy to work a second time with a composer called Carl Steven, who used to be in a group called Supergroove.
Oh, fantastic.
Lead singer, Supergroove.
So different, slight departure.
Very
but-
different, but very cool performer. I saw him here. Carl scores lots of films, and for this one, as he did with Tomanu, he worked with a Māori composer, co-composer and performer called Rob Thorne. So there was different elements of score, which I think Carl and Rob fused beautifully. There was a more classical kind of gothic score. There was a very strange and interesting modern instrument called the haldoraphone, which is an Icelandic instrument.
Wow.
That we went to Iceland to record because Carl had heard it and loved it. And when he played me
Amazing.
recordings of this instrument that I'd never heard of, I was like, yeah, that's a very strange, uncanny sound. He went, yeah, well, most of them are in Iceland, so we should go there. Like, okay.
Amazing.
So we went to Iceland, recorded that, and while we were there, used the Icelandic orchestra to record them orchestral pieces. And then the Taonga Puro pieces were recorded by Rob Thorne here in Tamaki Makaurau.
Beautiful.
And then it was their beautiful work that sort of fused those three. And many of the Taonga Puro sonic effects became, I suppose, signals throughout the film. And
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
fun.
Hopefully we'll be able to get it on platforms and have a listen to it sometime soon as well.
Yes, I'm hoping the soundtrack's coming out soon, in a couple of weeks.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Now the film is releasing. We're getting some previews over the next few days leading into Waitangi weekend. So
Yes.
where can we see the film? When's it releasing?
We are starting in Hamilton on Thursday, then we go to Rotorua Friday, then New Plymouth Saturday, then Levin, where I come from, so I'm really interested to see how it goes down
Fantastic.
with my cousins and whānau in Levin. And then we finish off in Wellington and then back up to the final preview, as it were, on the 11th at the Hollywood Avondale, which is very special cinema for me. That'll be a great final preview.
Fantastic.
And then it opens from Dargaville to Dunedin, literally, on the 12th.
How
In
you-
65 screens.
Are you guys pumped? How are you feeling? Are you feeling nervous?
Can't wait.
I'm nervous, but
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It's going to be. Listen. If I am any kind of judge, this is a very, very special movie. I'm a big fan. I will be there for one of those previews as well.
Thank you, Tom.
thank you so much.
Congratulations again. Great film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for this first episode of 2026, we figured rather than preview what's coming up in the next month, we would talk about the biggest kind of movie event on the calendar, which is, of course, the Oscars. So the Oscars are going to be playing on the 16th of March on Disney+. They're going to be hosted by the incredible Conan O'Brien, whose work last year was one of the great hosting jobs of recent years. And it's a pretty good year for the Oscars. It's one of the more impressive years in terms of what's been nominated for Best Picture. The across-the-board quality is higher than many of the past years, especially within the 2020s. There are a few that I like less than others, but at the top, the two kind of front-running films are two excellent films that were in my top 5 films of last year. So to start with, I'm going to go through those 10 nominees, just give you my quick thoughts on them, starting with the one I like the least and working my way up to the one that I like the most. And then we're going to go through, the big nominations and what we predict will win. So to begin with, at the bottom of the Best Picture table, as far as I'm concerned, is Chloe Zhao's Hamnet. This is a film that has a decent amount of buzz around it. People have responded quite well to it, but it simply didn't land for me. Chloe Zhao is a very, very talented filmmaker. Her film The Rider is an amazing film, and also, honestly, even though it was absolutely crucified when it came out, her Eternals, the Marvel film, is not the worst Marvel film by a long stretch. It easily clears something like Thor: Love and Thunder or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But Hamnet, which is adapted from the book of the same name and stars Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal, is just a bit of a hollow exercise. It feels very overly considered, but also feels like it lacks a bit of an emotional core. The performance from Jessie Buckley, which is the one that is really the front runner for actress, is one that I found quite unconvincing, unfortunately. And so it's a very beautiful film, but it feels like it lacks a kind of danger, a kind of willingness to really get into some ugly spaces, which I think it really needed for a film that, is basically a fan fiction kind of exercise in the life of William Shakespeare. So that would be the bottom of the table for me. After that, there's the Netflix's film Train Dreams. Now, Train Dreams has also got its fair share of fans. It's a very worthy, beautiful film, one that is again adapted from a great book by Denise Johnson, and it's a film about kind of the beauty of a solitary life, I guess. Joel Edgerton is fantastic in the lead, but it's a film that, again, is a little too beautiful without really getting into some of the more ugly spaces that would give it a little bit more narrative tension, a little bit more drive. The conclusions it comes to feel quite easy, for lack of a better word. It's an interesting film, and one that I think is worth seeing. I didn't actively dislike the film, but I also feel, against the other nominees this year, it's definitely one of the weaker offerings. Kind of in the middle, lower third of the pack, we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, another Netflix film. This is a film that I enjoyed when I watched it in the cinemas, and then in the time since, it's kind of descended a little bit for me. I think that there is some really good stuff in there. I really think Jacob Elordi is fantastic as the monster, and I also quite like Oscar Isaac's performance as Victor Frankenstein. I think it's a well put together film. There are some very moving elements, but I find myself, as with a lot of Guillermo del Toro's films, I find myself a little bit underwhelmed by the kind of visual approach, by the kind of obvious metaphors and emotions that are at play, and I feel like it lacks a fair amount of subtlety, and this is a dream project for Del Toro, and yet I felt like the vision wasn't quite there. It's an enjoyable film. It's well worth watching again, especially if you can see it on the big screen, but again, I feel a little bit underwhelmed speaking about it, except for Jacob Elordi's performance, which I do concede is fantastic. Also around that middle, lower third pack is Formula One. Now, that's a film that is very controversial for its placement in the Best Picture lineup. One of the only films for a very, very long time to have no other nominations in any of the major categories except for Best Picture. It seems like the word on the street, I guess, is that it was kind of the older crowd of Oscar voters who maybe felt a little bit alienated by some of the more radical options and wanted to kind of play for, like, the big blockbuster. Formula One is fine. It's an enjoyable action driving movie, while also being a pretty hollow one that is essentially a giant ad for Formula One and all the brands that are associated with Formula One. The story is virtually non-existent. The action is good. It's directed by Joseph Kosinski of Top Gun Maverick, very, very capable director. It's fine. It's an enjoyable film, but does it deserve to be in the Best Picture lineup? Probably not. In the middle of the pack, we have these two films, international films, both represented by Neon, who has been on a winning streak for a long time, being the company behind Anora and a bunch of other winners over the past few years. Sentimental Value coming in at number 6, and The Secret Agent coming in at number 5. Now, both of these are worthy films, particularly The Secret Agent. I really like The Secret Agent. Wagner Moura in the lead is fantastic, and Sentimental Value has a lot of value as well, particularly as a vehicle for great performances from Stellan Skarsgård and Elle Fanning. The main thing is that these two films seem to have kind of superseded another of Neon's films that was in the running but has been almost completely shut out, which is Jafar Panahi's It Was Just an Accident, which to my mind is one of, if not the best film of 2025, and I think it's a real shame that it was shut out here. Both these films are very, very good. The Secret Agent in particular feels very of the moment. The filmmaking is really strong. The performances are really strong. It has a really strong rewatch value, but I can't help but feel like the wrong film was shortchanged here. At number 4, I have Māori Supreme. Māori Supreme is obviously a massive deal at the moment. It's a big hit for A24, and it's a really, really strong offering from Josh Safdie. Obviously, Timothée Chalamet is the big kind of front runner for Best Actor. It's a very, very strong movie. I really, really enjoyed Māori Supreme. I think I gave it a little bit of a lower placement than some others might, probably because I found the middle third to be it sags quite a lot. I understand what Josh Safdie was up to with the kind of approach where it's like an ordeal where Māori faces endless trials, and he's trying to kind of make this idea of what it actually takes to hustle and the insane places that it takes you to. But I feel like it's been done better in other Safdie films, Uncut Gems, Good Time. And ultimately, I don't know if Timothée Chalamet's performance really landed for me. I honestly was more impressed by Gwyneth Paltrow in a supporting role, and she was shut out, unfortunately. At number 3, I have Begonia. The first Yorgos Lanthimos film that I've really, really loved, which is ironic because it has faced a fair amount of controversy itself, a fair amount of divisiveness. I just really think this is a quite beautiful and powerful film, anchored by 2 incredible performances. Jesse Plemons, who was also shut out from Best Actor this year, gives, in my opinion, one of the best performances of the year. It's a very, very interesting, tense, funny, and mournful film, one that I think is ripe to be misunderstood. So it's really, I'm really happy that it got into the Best Picture lineup. Number 2, one of the big heavy hitters, Sinners, probably at this point the front runner for Best Picture. This is a great blockbuster. It's a fantastic film. It's complex, it's funny, it's sad, it's partially a musical. The performances are out of this world. It's just a really, really fantastic film, directed by Ryan Coogler, who is really going off. He is... he was at the risk of kind of being subsumed by the Marvel machine, and so it's really, really gratifying to see him kind of bounce back with this original film that became a massive hit. It's a fantastic film, and it has so much rewatch value, and it's one of the strongest of the year. My number 1 film from the Best Picture lineup, of course, is One Battle After Another. I've talked at length about this film, so I won't do it here, but Paul Thomas Anderson's film is to my mind a masterpiece. It's a fantastic film. It's exciting, it's unnerving, it's sad, it's funny, it's got incredible performances across the board. All these things that I can say about Sinners, I can say about this film as well. Honestly, if either of these films won Best Picture, I would be fine with that. So if we're going to talk about quickly my predictions for what will win and what should win, if we're talking about Best Picture, as I've said, I think what will win is Sinners. It seems to have kind of just overtaken One Battle After Another, which is what I think should win. But I honestly can't complain if Sinners wins. I think that's a very fine film. For director, I think who will win is Paul Thomas Anderson, and I think he should win as well. Really, a lot of the time with the Oscars, it's about who is due for the Oscar, and I think Paul Thomas Anderson has made enough films at this point where, yeah, he's due, and it's going to be a well-deserved win for sure. For Best Actor, as I said, Timothée Chalamet is the front runner. I probably would be happy with any of the other nominees over him. I think his performance is strong, but I don't think it's as good as any of the other nominees who are listed. Particularly Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, whose performance I think is just out of this world. Maybe one of the best, probably the best performance of 2025, sorry. But also if Wagner Moura won or Michael B. Jordan won, I would be very happy with that. With Best Actress, Jessie Buckley has long been the front runner for Best Actress for Hamnet. As I've kind of outlined, her performance kind of left me quite cold, which is a shame because I've loved her in many, many other things. But I think who should win is Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. Her performance in that film is electric, and it really holds a very chaotic film together. You want to talk about an actress who is overdue for recognition. That is Rose Byrne. She's an incredible actress, and this is just an amazing showcase. This film is actually in cinemas at the moment, I believe, so I highly recommend you make the effort to go and see it. For supporting actor, who will win? Probably Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. I can't sniff at that. Skarsgård holds the film. He owns the film. He's fantastic in it. And he is an actor who has, been incredible in things for many, many years, and is well overdue as well. So I can't complain about that. Who I would pick? Probably Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. He is the heart and soul of that film. It's an amazing, very subtle, very quick performance, the ideal supporting performance. And lastly, for supporting actress, who will win and who should win? Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another. Her performance, she's in the film for about 20 minutes, and yet she casts a shadow over the entire film. The performance is absolutely a flashbang. It's an amazing film, and her performance in it is just really the core of it. It's a really, really fantastic performance, and will be a well-deserved supporting actress win. Just a reminder, this month is also International Women's Day on the 8th of March. There's also going to be the Women in Film and Television Awards here in Aotearoa on the 12th of March. So Rialto Channel is going to be sharing a whole bunch of amazing films directed by women, including and especially Lucy Lawless's amazing documentary about Margaret Moth, Never Look Away, on International Women's Day, the 8th of March. So keep an eye out for that. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll be back next month with more movie previews and interviews. Thank you so much for joining us. Ka kite.